All right, Dan, who are you and what is your background?
Oh, who am I? Well, that's a hard question. I'm a father, 2 daughters, married to an amazing wife, and who right now I work for Vanderbilt Life Flight as a pilot. Been doing that for 1.5 years here in Cookeville. Before that, I was a year in Roswell. My background, military, firefighter, did a lot of specialties in the fire department, flight medic in the military, and then became a pilot, retired and all that, and then came to the civilian side, which brought me here to Cookeville.
So what kind of made you decide to join the military?
I always knew I was going to join. My father was a Marine, my brother was in the Army. I had uncles that were, or I should say my dad's uncles that were in World War II. It was just something I always knew I was going to do. My first goal was to be a naval aviator, actually, or just because I fell in love with aviation as a child. Didn't have the grades to do that, and I wanted to go to the Marine Force Recon. And I was all about the Marines, and also, you know, at the time, there was a movie out about Navy SEALs. That was one of the things I wanted to do. Anything special forces, and my dad kind of reared me in and said, pick a job I could use on the outside. Wanted me to go Air Force, and I decided, we compromised, and I went to the Army to be first off as a combat medic, and that's what I first got in for.
So whose idea was Dustoff Ranch? Like, what does it mean, and how did you come up with it?
Dustoff Ranch, well, Dustoff is an acronym, and it stands for Dedicated, Unhesitating Service to Our Fighting Forces. It's a legacy in the military, actually in the Army. The father of Dustoff is Major Kelly, who started it in Vietnam and coined the term. And you know, those guys in Vietnam were, in my opinion, are legendary in the things they did. It's now become a tradition, and where, you know, we'll come get you if you're wounded. That's what we're there for. So coming up with the whole idea, I started thinking about it with, well, being a firefighter and being in the military, we started think, my wife and I had different ideas of what we should call it. But I, you know, kind of finally just chose on Dustoff Ranch because as in Dustoff, we're there to help people. You know, you call, we help. And so that's what I wanted this ranch to be about when we started to help others.
How do you find balance between everything you have going on, between family, working? You mentioned you sleep 4 hours a night.
Yeah, it is definitely a balance. And you know, I will say, and probably a lot of people say this, but it's been a blessing for us to move here. This is the first time that in a long time that I've been this close to my work, family, and everything that I do. For the longest time, I mean, we were like 1 hour to 2 hours away from my other job, 2 hours away from the National Guard, constantly being gone, being deployed 2 times after having kids. So I know it took a heavy toll on my wife, but she's very patient, she's very strong. And then, you know, my first, once I retired from the fire department and then went into an inactive status for the Guard, I was driving 8 hours to where I worked and was gone for 7 days and then coming home after 7 days. So really I was only home for 5 days. So I did that for a year, and we kept hoping and praying that, you know, maybe we can get someplace closer. And when this opportunity opened up here in Cookeville, that was huge. And so my wife and I knew that I'm 5 minutes away from home now. I can see my kids every night. When I work during the nights, I can see them during the day. I make a point of going to the gym with them so I can see them when they're done. And so it's been huge. But for me, it's always, my motto is God, family, and country. So I got to make sure I keep a balance with all those. And work is great, but that actually comes last, even though it does provide for us. But if I can't give time to my kids and to help them be productive people one day, then I've failed. And so I try to make as much time as I can for them. Within 6 months of getting out, even that, I started dabbling about going back into the military. I missed it, which with certain, and the National Guard at the time wasn't enough for me, and I kind of just lost focus with that. But this second time around of going inactive from the Guard, it takes its toll because you're around a bunch of very motivated people in the military. You deploy with them, you have a lot in common, so you have similar experiences and you get to talk to them all the time. You get out and you lose that. A lot of people on the civilian side, and no fault of theirs, they don't really understand. And what I have found that has worked for me, because I've had my ups and downs, and that's why I thank God that I have a very patient wife, where you can get really depressed sometimes. You can just get really angry sometimes. And so what has really been a benefit to me is God, number one. I try to, and as I'm getting older, it becomes more of a focus in my life with my faith. That helps me. That's the primary. Having I guess I've mentioned her numerous times, a strong, amazing wife and kids that are great. And then working out is another focus that helps keep my mind focused. Staying occupied, staying busy, and that's probably why my wife thinks I'm so busy, but it keeps my mind occupied. It's always the idle time that causes the bad times. And so I try to limit that. But the reason, the whole reason behind this focus with Dustoff Ranch is, and my wife, I'm sure she's right, because she's right for a lot of things. She thinks it's going to help me more than it's going to help the people. So I never thought about it that way. But you have a community, fire department, military, police, EMS, that you're always around. You experience things together, so they get you, you get them. People have always said, and I'm sure, people on the outside don't understand, we might have like a really kind of sick sense of humor, but that's how we cope. When you get out, you don't have those people around you all the time, and then you don't know how to cope with it. There's a lot of things we can get in later that you don't want people to think you're broken or there's something wrong with you, and so you always just kind of you try to cover up. Some guys have a harder time than others. Unfortunately, a lot of guys turn to alcohol and other things, and it's very detrimental. Me, I realized early on that I was an alcoholic, and I, with an amazing wife again and the grace of God, I was able to go cold turkey. And I realized I had a problem and just stopped, which could have probably been very bad if I continued into it. But coming back to, you lose your community. And that is what I want to give back to. Now, we want to offer other things, but I want to give them a place to go and hang out with people with similar backgrounds. You don't have to tell a story, you don't say anything, you just hang out. But there's other people around, and this is one thing too. I want to be a huge shout out to a lot of the older vets from Vietnam. I want them to be there too, because I want the younger guys to learn from them how they coped. And there's so much experience with them that they can pass on to a lot of the younger generation that has gone through 20 years of war. Maybe we can learn something from them. And they came back to a country who didn't want them. We were very fortunate that there was a positive kind of a attitude towards military. Same thing with first responders and police and EMS. I want them to be able to hang out with people that, hey, we've made it, we're going to help you make it. To give them people they can reach out to when they need to. And that's, the basic core focus of what I want to do with this is, we want to have a facility, we want to be able to do things for them, do things for their spouses, teach them. And I want to give a shout out to, and I don't know if I can do this or not, but to Sean Ryan. I listen to his podcast, and he has a lot of great people on there. And I've been learning from some of the guys who I didn't know them personally, and I don't, but the things I did, I've always looked up to. And I hear what they're doing now, how they've overcome stuff, and I really want to learn from them to do the same for others. It's just sad to hear, one thing, not to downgrade anything, but I know, veteran suicide is high. There's always different numbers, so I'm not going to give a number out there, but one is always too many. Another thing that's not talked about is police, fire, EMS. They're not nowhere near as high as the military, but there's also things with alcoholism and drug abuse. You know, any one is too many for any of these type of services of people that all they're doing is to help others. So I want to be able to give them a place to go and get help, and whatever we can do to help them is what my primary focus is going to be. You know, I know it's going to be a lot of fun, as in meeting them, talking to them, and just if we can just help one person, that's all that matters. That will be worth it to me. But I believe we can help a lot more, and just simply by helping them, helping their families learn how to work with them and understand this is why they're doing this, and hoping to make contact with others. A lot of resources yet. Like I said, we have property and we want to do things on it. But one of them was a family with children, and I can go into that later about, you know, we also want to help Gold Star children. They asked, do we have any services to provide? And we had nothing, but I mentioned that, you know, if you want to go camping on the property, if you want me to take them camping, we can do campfires, we can do hikes, we can do whatever you need, anything to help get their mind off things, because I understand that can be very traumatic. So it's been heartbreaking that right now I don't have a lot of resources, and I understand this process is going to take time because donations, fundraising, stuff like that, as soon as we can get things going. So I can't say I've helped anybody yet. We're just beginning. I want to. That's why we've done a couple raffles. We've raised, I think, probably about a quarter amount of the money. I still got to get estimates on what it's going to cost, but we want to build a big fire pit and do barbecues out there and just let guys come out and hang out, and just with other veterans, first responders, and active military too, come out and just hang out. And we're going to feed them and just kind of just put them together and just, you know, start. I know it's going to start small and hopefully it gets bigger, but do it once a month so we can kind of start getting out there and helping people. Well, that's what's coming next is the fire pit, and what we'd like to do, if people want to donate, which will help us, you can donate a month, like for 1 month, so we can buy all the stuff we're going to use to barbecue, and then or help donate to help build it. Every little bit counts, no matter how small or how big. I believe everything counts, because in my opinion, you know, what you might think is little, God can always make it bigger. So that is going to be the first primary focus, is to start with that. When the weather gets better, gets warmer, we can start doing bonfires and barbecues. Our next step is, and we've had people reach out to us, and we've been talking to them about helping getting a road built to where everything's going to be, because the first part of the property can get kind of soggy. So we want to build a road so people can get to the back where it's where we plan on having all the stuff that we're going to build. And then we want to do a fishing pond, because I know that's very calming and relaxing. We also, I'm kind of, what's the word, not biased, but we want to have horses, because I know for me, I can just take what works for me, and I try to see if other people work for other people. We want to have horses. I think horses can be very therapeutic, so we're going to have a couple horses there. And then we're going to have, you know, once we start growing, we want to be able to put some cattle out there, so people want to they want to come out and help with the cattle. Let's give them something to do. 'Cause I know being active, staying busy helps with things. And then we want to build a larger barn where we're going to. It started off as just a shop, and now it's turned into a barn, where we want to be able to have classes for spouses. anything like that to bring people together, to help families and to understand maybe what their spouse is going through. And then also, there's a lot of other things we can do with that building. But if we can help the community with it, if they want to have things there, whatever we can do to give back for the community giving to us. And then grow from there, and then, you know, once we can start helping them out, later down the road is when we want to start helping out the Gold Star children, doing once a month. I'm sorry, let me take that back. Doing once a year during the summertime. Start off with like a summer camp for these kids. We like to have a couple cabins by the lake, by the pond, that we can, if some parents or a parent can come out with their children, they can stay. We're going to have a bunkhouse. We always want their parents, if they need to have them there, we want their parents there. And then overall after that, if people just want to come and, you know, when we have the availability, come and just have a couple days just of peace and quiet. We're going to hopefully have a walking path around the pond, and then we have 25 acres up on the mountainside that we want to put a walking path on there too. They just want to come and hang out and get away. Take a stress relief and just say, can I come out there? My goal is to, if we get enough donations and that's why another reason we're going to have the cattle is if we can be self-sufficient, we can offer these like 3 or 4 day getaways for them at no cost to them. They don't have anything to worry about, just come out there and just relax. They want to sit by the pond or sit on the back deck or go for a walk or go for a horse ride. They can do that. We want to be able to offer that for them. The website is at dustoffranch.org. And there is donation tabs on there. There's some information about us. We're actually just updated with some of our board members, and we're going to be doing some more updating on it in the near future. We also have a Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and it's all Dustoff Ranch. We also have a YouTube channel. Just you can type in Dustoff Ranch and it should come up. We're slowly growing, so everything is really small, and our reach is small, but we want to start expanding.